Welcome, everybody, to the Wellness Crusaders show. I'm Patty Reese. I'm so happy to be with you today. And the Wellness Crusaders' mission is to educate, empower, to help you make informed choices for your health, the health of our children, our communities, and our earth. We are committed to fostering a world where the balance between human health, environmental stewardship is respected and nurtured. We hope you will join us on this holistic and transformative journey as we work together to create a healthier, more harmonious world for all. There you go. Well, happy holidays to you all. It's coming up close, and I'm excited to share. I don't actually have someone I'm interviewing today, but I am going to interview. I am going to talk about this book called The Five Invitations, and we'll get into that in just a minute. I did want to start today, the show today, talking a little bit before we get into the five invitations, a little bit about food as we're coming up on the holidays. So, food, we talk a lot about food on this show and the benefits of food and healing with food, the cultural impacts of food, and also the impacts on our health, our children, our brains. So as we move into these holidays, we're going to all be probably exposed to lots of different types of food. And the more we can navigate toward organic, real food, the better we'll feel, the better our holidays will be. Because as we've talked about before on this show, the food, whatever we eat, affects obviously our health, our physical health, but it also affects our mental health. I had I did a coaching session with an 11-year-old and her grandmother the other day, and this little girl is very highly allergic to a lot of the dyes and sugar, particularly high fructose corn syrup. And so getting her to a place where she can enjoy sweets again without having that high fructose corn syrup and some of the other additives that just send her off is a bit of a challenge for the grandmother, but it was a good session. Of course, I did amino acid therapy with her as well too. And the food really plays a role in our world, everybody. So the more we can adjust, the more we can make choices to eating better, finding that organic food, going to the farmer's market, making our food in our kitchen, the better we're going to be. In fact, I just put my kitchen back together today because we had a wall that came down, and so it feels so good to put my kitchen back together and get back into preparing my food. So I want to bring up a slide. I'm going to have my background people bring up this slide on food and what I call high vibe food. And what that means is it's just high vibrational food. I happen to like that word. So if you can see here, and some of you may just be listening, but for those of you who are watching the replay, I decided not to put any words on this slide because I just wanted to find photographs. So this is what I consider high vibe food, and many of you probably do as well too, healthy, real food. So that top section is basically just vegetables. So there's three, and I teach and coach about this a lot. We need the three macronutrients to feed our brain, to feed our mood, to feed our cells, and that is protein, fats, and complex carbs. So that top group up there is obviously vegetables and fruits. Those are considered complex carbs. There's also grains in that, quinoa, rice, beans, legumes are all part of complex carbs. And that we really want to think about putting that onto our plate every day. Vegetables, fruits, and again, complex carbs. The next group down you'll see is protein. And that's one of the other what we call macros, right? We need our three macros in every day. So as you're thinking about preparing food for the holidays and your plates every day, make sure you're getting some protein in there. Now, there's a lot of animal protein in that photo. You see, chicken and fish, eggs, some dairy. There are other forms of protein that are that are vegetarian, like tempeh and tofu. Beans and rice can also be considered a protein. So protein is crucial um, for our brains, for so many functions, our enzyme functions, our tissue rebuild. Like, we cannot rebuild our neurotransmitters and our tissue without protein. Of course, we also need the fat, and then if you drop down to the bottom, you can see the omega-3 fats, but we also have omega-6 and omega-9s. But we need these three. And as I've said before on many of my talks, is we're not bringing this into the school system. Our kids and most of us should be educated about how to eat, but we're not. And we know that's a lot of that is connected to big food industry and, unfortunately, the education system the way it is. But we get to educate ourselves, and many of us have become educated through health issues or recovery issues. So again, the three max: protein, complex carbs, which is again mostly vegetables, some fruits, and some grains, beans, and then the fats. And you can see down on the bottom there, for those of you that are watching the rerun, you see fish in there, which is also a protein, and it's also a good fat. You see avocado, flax seeds, all different nuts and seeds. These are crucial. And when I was working with that 11-year-old yesterday, I brought up these photographs because she can relate to the photographs. Of course, the one she dove right into was the sweets. She goes, "I want to eat that." And I put that on there too, because that's a healthy dessert. We don't have to not eat. We can have sweets in our life too. They can just be upgraded. So that's actually a coconut cream and some organic granola and some fruits. So we can still have fruits and delicious pastries and baked goods. And please just Google recipes or pull out your old cookbooks and just upgrade everything and eat clean, organic flour. There's lots of really good ancient grain flours if you're baking that do not have any of the glyphosate in it and some of the other stuff. So look for that. I'm encouraging us all to start upgrading our food, because as we upgrade our food and we start eating this food, we're feeding our brain, we're feeding our spirit, we're feeding our mood. And what I kept connecting in with this little 11-year-old was her mood is affected by what she's eating. She wasn't making that connection, or what she's not eating. So hopefully I had an impact on her, and her grandmother, mostly because she'll be doing most of the preparation. So I wanted to start with that, and I hope that you all have a lovely holiday and that you really think about what you're putting on your plates for your holiday dishes and dishes in general. Our food is really important to feed our brains and feed our spirit. And so happy holidays to you as you make choices on what you're bringing into your home to share with others. And I wanted to start off with that. So thank you, my group in the back, for that. And if you can pull up the next slide now that I want to talk about. It's kind of a little different course we're going to go to now, and we're going to talk about this book called The 5 Invitations. And the reason I'm bringing this up on the show today is this is a book written by Frank Oczewski, and it's Discovering What Death Can Teach Us About Fully Living. I teach a lot about these 5 invitations in my coaching work. I don't just do nutrition work and food work. I also do lifestyle work. And this really stuck out to me today to share on here. We had a friend, 28-year-old young man, who took his life last Friday. And I felt the need to get on here and talk about death. It's there for all of us to take a look at. Unfortunately, suicide is a real big issue that we all know about in our communities. The reason I wanted to start off with the food as I'm bringing in the 5 invitations is that food affects our brain, which affects our neurotransmitters. And when we're not eating well, and we're not feeding those neurotransmitters, particularly serotonin, and serotonin is the neurotransmitter that has to do with suicide. When we're low in that, we can become suicidal. So food affects that, drugs and alcohol affect that, trauma affect that. There's lots of pieces around suicide. And we're going to do a show in the new year on that as well. But it really struck home. And I just saw him a couple weeks ago. So, it can creep up. And when life is just not flowing for you and you're not caring for your brain and your body, you may just want to check out, as this young man did, and many are. So I wanted to talk a little bit about this book. This is what came up for me. So for those of you who don't know it, again, it's called The 5 Invitations, Discovering What Death Can Teach Us About Fully Living. And I tried to get Frank to get on the show. Maybe we can get him on in the new year, but I'm going to tell you a little bit about the author. Very interesting man. Frank Ochesky has dedicated his life to service. He is the co-founder of the Zen Hospice Project, founder of the Metta Institute, a Buddhist teacher, an international lecturer, and a leading voice in contemplative end-of-life care. He has been honored by His Holiness the Dalai Lama, and he has a whole bunch of other things. I'm not going to talk about that too much. But how I got turned on to this book, one of my closest friends who passed away from cancer sent me this book when my sister was passing with cancer. And it's a really, really beautiful way of looking at how we can live more fully by this man's work with hospice and the people that he's worked with over the years. Let me read a little bit more. So this is kind of a little bit like a story time for you all. Life and death are a package deal. They cannot be pulled apart, and we cannot truly live unless we are aware of death. The 5 Invitations is an exhilarating meditation on the meaning of life and how maintaining an ever-present consciousness of death can bring us closer to our truest selves. As a renowned teacher of compassionate caregiving and the co-founder of the Zen Hospice Project, Fran Ochesky has sat on the precipice of death with more than 1,000 people. In the 5 Invitation, he distills the lessons gleaned over the course of his career, offering an evocative and stirring guide that points to a radical path to transformation. So I'm going to go through each one of these. These are the 5 invitations. The first one is don't wait. And before I do that, I want to invite us all to look at some of these invitations and which one or two are the hardest for you. And I will share which ones are the hardest for me, or I would say the more challenging ones. And then it's a pathway to take a look at how we can live more presently. So the first invitation he talks about, again, about fully living, is don't wait. And Frank writes, instead of pinning our hopes on a better future, we focus on the present and being grateful for what we have in front of us right now. We say, I love you more often because we realize the importance of human connection. We become kinder, more compassionate, and more forgiving. Don't wait is a pathway to fulfillment and an antidote to regret. So that's the first invitation. And just sit with that for a moment and think about if that is something that's challenging for you, or if that's something you're already tuned into about, I'm not waiting on this. I'm going to talk to this person about this. And it's interesting, on this particular invitation, I was at a qigong class this morning, and I was telling this woman actually about the young man that passed away. She hadn't known about it, and we were talking about this book. I told her about the five invitations, and she said, "Well, don't wait" is a tricky one because sometimes you need to wait. You need to pause and not jump into something, right? Like you're thinking about someone with suicide. Like he didn't wait; he jumped, right? Um, there is a pause button too. So he's not talking about that. But if this is something, when you think about not waiting, this is something you've been thinking about sharing with someone, something loving and obviously connected to your highest good and someone else's. That's what he's talking about here. Being more grateful, not waiting to share that with a loved one, not waiting to make that call, not waiting to go out on that dance floor, dance if you've been wanting to do that, not waiting to take a class. So that's that very first invitation of don't wait. So the second invitation, and we lost our visual there, but that's okay. I have it right here on my phone. The second invitation is welcome everything, push nothing away. Okay, so we have don't wait. What are you waiting on that you want to keep doing that you're not doing? And the second one is welcome everything, push nothing away. And Frank writes about this in the book, The Five Invitations. In welcoming everything, we don't have to like what is arising. It's actually not our job to approve or disapprove. The word welcome confronts us to ask us to temporarily suspend our usual rush to judgment and to simply be open to what is happening. When we are open and receptive, we have options. We are free to discover, to investigate, and to learn how to respond skillfully to anything we encounter. Welcome everything, push nothing away cannot be done solely as an act of will. To welcome everything is an act of love. So I'm going to share with you all that's a challenge one for me. Welcome everything, push nothing away. It's something I'm certainly working on, especially with challenges, with death. It was hard for me to welcome that information about that young man who just took his life. But now that I have been welcoming it in, I can see many gifts coming through with what's happened. And there's a lot more connections happening with the people around that knew him. I actually was able to connect with his wife. So there is some gifts in that. Okay, so again, don't wait. Number 2, welcome everything, push nothing away. The third invitation is to bring your whole self to the experience. So Frank writes, we all like to look good. We long to be seen as capable, strong, intelligent, sensitive, spiritual, or at least well-adjusted. We project a positive self-image. Few of us want to be known for our helplessness, fear, anger, or ignorance, or that sometimes we are more of a mess than we'd like to admit. To be whole, we need to include, accept, and connect all parts of ourselves. Wholeness does not mean perfection. It means no part left out. So I want everyone to sit with that a little bit. Bring your whole self to the experience. I also look at that one as being present right now. Like bring your whole self to listening right now if you are, or for whatever you're doing, as we go through our day, being present for that, and accepting all the parts to ourselves. I can remember working at the Zen Buddhist Center here many, many years ago. I can't remember the Buddhist teacher, but he talked about the big mind theory. And I don't know if any of you are familiar with that, but it is these different parts to ourselves, right? The Buddha, the critic, um, you know, the different parts to ourselves, they can also be considered archetypes, the skeptic, like I said. So we have these different parts to ourselves, but they're all part of us. Um, and we need to integrate all of that, the grieving part. So I want us to sit with that a little bit too, accepting, bringing your whole self to the experience. And again, that's part of living in the now, living here right now, and accepting all the parts to ourselves. Okay, so that's number 3. The 4th invitation is find a place of rest in the middle of things. Frank writes, we often think of rest as something that will come to us when everything else in our lives is complete. At the end of the day, when we take a bath, once we go on a holiday or get through all our to-do lists, we imagine that we can only find rest by changing our circumstances. This place of rest is always available to us. It is a choice to be alert, to bring your attention to this moment. So I want us to sit with that, especially during like this holiday season, right? There's a lot to do. Um, so this has been one of the ones. As I mentioned earlier, I've shared this with a lot of students that I've worked with, people that are in recovery, that are healing. And this has been one that's come up for a lot of folks. I think it's also a lot of folks who navigate ADD. It's hard to find a place of rest when your mind is busy and you're going and there's so much to do. But I want us to sit with this one a little bit as well, because this is about tuning into what we need and when we need to stop and take a break, when we just need to go, okay, I need 5 minutes. And I know that's challenging if you have children at home or you're at work or you're a teacher. I mean, I was a second grade teacher many years ago, and I couldn't do this one. I was like, that's impossible. But that job was exhausting for me because I didn't know how to navigate my energy. So that could simply be stopping for a few minutes and taking some deep breaths, which I'm going to invite us to do in a minute after I go through all these invitations. And I had a reflection of a teacher that I had in college who was, I was an education major, and he was a principal. And I remembered this. He did this. As a principal at a school, he would put a note on his door, and he would take a break for 10 minutes. I think it was just once a day. I don't quite remember. It was quite a while ago, but he would, unless it was an emergency, he put a sign on his door that he was unavailable for 10 minutes. And that's when he rested. They didn't have cell phones back then. This was 1978. So there were no cell phones, but he meditated and rested for 10 minutes. He reset his energy. So we can do that too, whatever our day looks like. And when we don't do that, we exhaust ourselves, right? And I get it. Sometimes we can't do it. We're in the middle of teaching a class. So preparing ourselves for that too, making sure we get a good night rest the night before. This is all part of it. But being able to go through our day and say, wow, I need to find a place. I'm going to find a place of rest in the middle of all this. So I invite you all to do that as well too. Find that place of rest as you go through your day. What does that look like for you? Does it look like just shutting your phone off? I'm reading it from here, so um mhm. Okay. I'm just going to send a little chat. Hold on, folks. Hold on. Thank you for, I just needed to send a message to our, um, mhm. Okay, so here I am back again. No, no, no. Hold on, folks. Thank you. Okay. Okay, so the last invitation, cultivate the don't know mind. Oh, is this challenging for us? I'd say so. Cultivate the don't know mind. Frank writes in his book, cultivate the don't know mind may seem confusing at first. Why should we seek to be ignorant? Don't know mind is one characterized by curiosity, surprise, and wonder. It is receptive, ready to meet whatever shows up as it is. Don't know mind is an invitation to enter life with fresh eyes, to empty our minds and open our hearts. So you can bring me back to the full screen, and I have it on here. So when I think of cultivating the don't know mind, this is a tough one for me too, because I want to plan what's happening. Well, I think I do, right? It's like, okay, well, but as we all know, we cannot predict the future. What we can do is live present. And here's what's cool from what I understand from a lot of the quantum physics work is that the more we live in the present, the more we're creating our future. So, how are we living right now? Are we living with compassion, connection, awareness? That is actually creating our future. Can we be okay with not knowing everything? That's a challenge for me, and maybe it is some of a challenge for some of you as well too. So, I want you to think about which of these, and I know we're not in a discussion here, but let me go through them again, and then we're going to do a meditation. A present meditation. Number one, don't wait. Is that a challenge for you? Is that easy for you? Can you just jump into life? But again, do you need to sometimes pause? Are you someone that jumps in? I want you to think about that a little bit as well too, because it could be where you do need to stop, take a pause. But are you waiting also to tell someone you love them? Are you waiting to send that message? Are you waiting to forgive yourself or someone else? Are you waiting on that? That's what I want to invite you to do. I want to invite you to not wait on those things that feel right to you because again, it's all about love. And if we withhold that because that person hasn't done what they we want them to do, don't wait. Share yourself with others. Take that class. Fix your food. Don't wait to sleep if you need to sleep. Okay. Number two. Okay, here we go right into this one. Welcome everything, push nothing away. So, again, this comes into the fifth one again, like cultivate the don't know mind. We have to welcome what shows up, right? And and then we can't push it away because as soon as we push, we're in some kind of a resistance. It doesn't mean you can't say, I don't like that or that's not working for me. That's part of it too, because when we're welcoming everything, we're like, oh, wow, that's not working for me. So we're learning from that contrast, right? And we don't have a choice about when people take their lives or someone dies in our life. We have to just welcome it and work from there and be in the grieving process and support others in that. And the third is bring your whole self to the experience. So I want to take a moment right here. Um, bring your whole self to the experience. What is that like for you? Can you actually be here right now? So for those of you watching right now, and can we bring me back to the full screen just for a minute? Because I'm gonna work with this invitation right now. Bring your whole self to the experience. So I'm going to take you through a breath practice. And what I really like about this particular breath practice is it takes you out of the beta state, right? So we're going to talk a little bit about getting into this, being able to be present in the experience. And it has to do with your breath. It also has to do with your brain waves, right? So this is a breath practice. It's called the sacred G breath. It's a brainwave breath. So I'm going to take you through it. Can we bring me back into the full screen, my background crew? That would be great. I'm going to take you through this breath practice as we are on invitation number 3. Bring your whole self to the experience. And we're going to go through this breath practice. So hopefully you're not driving a car. You cannot actually do it with your eyes closed if you're doing that, but I'm going to invite you to close your eyes. And then I'd like you to start. We're going to do just 2 breath practices. I'd like you to inhale through your nose and then exhale through your mouth, just like you're blowing out a straw. This is a present, again, this invitation is bringing your whole self to the experience. Inhale through your nose and exhale through the straw. Blow out through your mouth. We're going to do 5 more. Inhale through your nose and exhale through your mouth. Stay present. Again, inhale nose. Exhale through your mouth. Three more. Two more. Last one. Inhale nose. Exhale through your mouth. Relax your shoulders and keep your eyes closed if you can. And you're not driving, of course, you can't do that. I'm going to take you through one more breath practice with this invitation. Bring your whole self to the experience. It's also called mindfulness. So I'm going to take you through this wonderful breath practice to bring your brain wave into a really calm, present state. So we're going to do 3 rounds of it, okay, as we're all together here. I'm going to explain it to you and then we'll do it together. So just keep your eyes closed and keep your body relaxed. You're going to inhale mouth, exhale mouth, exhale nose, inhale nose, exhale nose, and then inhale nose, exhale mouth. It's a 4-part breath. So let's inhale through the nose together and exhale nose. One more synchronize, inhale nose and exhale nose. Nice. Now open your mouth, inhale mouth, exhale mouth. Inhale mouth, exhale nose, close your mouth. Inhale nose, exhale nose. Inhale nose, exhale mouth. Round 2, inhale mouth, exhale mouth. Inhale mouth, exhale nose, close your mouth. Inhale nose, exhale nose. Inhale nose, exhale mouth. Last round, inhale mouth, exhale mouth, inhale mouth, exhale nose, inhale nose, exhale nose, inhale nose, exhale mouth. And I'm just going to invite you to keep your eyes closed and check in with how you feel if you were able to do that breath practice. And again, stay in the experience of this right now. Bring your whole self to this experience. And then when you're ready, you can slowly open your eyes. That particular breath practice helps bring us into an alpha brainwave state, which is a slower brainwave state. It is also allows us to get into the theta brainwave state, which is really a deep meditative state. People who are very trained in meditation can actually get into that state. And then the next brainwave down is delta. That's when we're sleeping. So for those of you who participated in that, I hope that felt great. Number 4, we're just going to finish up here with 2 more. Find a place of rest in the middle of things. So what does that look like for you? And I invite you during these holiday season to try that. You can even just take a break and sit on a chair, on a couch, outside, on a park bench. Keep reminding yourself to find a place of rest as we're busy through our days. Allow and bring in the breath to do that. Bring in that wonderful breath. And then the last invitation again is cultivate a don't know mind. Being okay with what shows up in your life. And the more, again, that we live in this place of compassion and love for ourselves and for others, the more we're creating our future. So I'm going to finish there. And it looks like there's some other stuff coming up here on the screen. If you all can bring me back to a full screen. And I think we might be ready to close the show tonight. So again, I thank you all for being here for this show today. Again, the book is called, can we bring us back to a full screen? There we go. Oh, there we go. The book is called The 5 Invitations. It is such a great read and so helpful for living right now. Oh, it's backwards, so you can't see it. Well, anyway, it is called The 5 Invitations. If it looks backwards, sorry for that, folks. I don't know where that is, but that's okay. It's called The 5 Invitations. It's been out for quite some time. I welcome you to pick up that book. I also welcome you to really think about your food over this holiday journey. And thank you again for being part of the Wellness Crusaders show. And thank you again to KMMU for allowing us to be here and to share about wellness and health and the environment. We're so grateful for KMMU, and blessings for all of you during your holiday season. And we'll see you next time. Thank you again.